bloggers and people on social media and stuff, they seem to struggle with the idea of
telling the fact about what's really happening,
giving you the complete picture. And I've said in the times past that, you know, you've got vested interest, which just causes an obvious log in what it's really like. Which, by the way, I've got a quote: "There is no man more hated than them that tell the truth."
That's massive hail. That's why you gotta go for a walk when you get a chance.
So the sun finally came out here today in Cuenca, Ecuador, and we're still in our $300 apartment, by the way, but we decided to take a walk. The weather is so nice, and you might as well enjoy it. And by the way, a lot of you know that we've lived in Cuenca for 5 years previously, and we also lived out in the mountains in Gouging. We lived on the coast in Ecuador, and then we left South America altogether, went to Europe, spent some amazing times in southern Italy and Poland, Eastern Europe, all that stuff. And every single time, we never paid more than $300-400 for 3 and 4 bedroom houses or apartments, furnished and unfurnished. A lot of you already know that we're not Cuenca, Ecuador pumpers. You know, we talk about our retire early lifestyle, and sometimes we talk about where we happen to be. But by no means is that our focus anymore. I know when we first came here, it was a great thing to do a lot of videos. There was nobody else doing it, so we did a lot of videos specifically about Cuenca, Ecuador. But we moved away from that several years ago, just as we came to understand what is actually going on in this space. And a lot of you longtime followers know what I'm talking about. So there's plenty of Cuenca pumpers right now, and shill bloggers too. You can tell the shills because everything they say is just what you would expect to hear from an advertisement. You know, if you have an advertisement to buy a car, for example, you know, they're going to tell you all the wonderful things about it. They're not going to say anything that detracts from trying to make the sale. You know, that's the whole key. And you know, and that brings me to this. There was a young man that was killed. He was just an innocent young man, and he was a language teacher. In this case it was Mexico, but there's other stories closer to home here in Ecuador too. But he just decided one day to go hiking and ran into the wrong territory, which is easy to do in Mexico, but it's also easy to do anywhere in Latin America, Central America, and abroad. And people like to say, well, crime's everywhere. Absolutely it is. That's why I want to know specifically, wherever I'm at, what kind of crimes are happening, when they're happening, how they're happening, and who are the target. That's the focus, that's the key. It just reminds me of, you see people reaching out, like on social media. I saw this lady reaching out on Facebook one time. She was just asking people, she was planning a move. In this case it was Mexico, and again, this video is not about Mexico. It's about retire early lifestyle when we move abroad. And the concept here is that the woman was asking for help in the group, saying, all right, well, I'm getting ready to do this, and is there anything I need to know that maybe hasn't been covered? And amazingly, nobody rose up to the occasion and said anything other than the postcard and the advertisement. And it just boggles my mind, because here she is genuinely and sincerely asking a question, and you want people that are getting ready to do something to know, like, I mean, if I'm getting ready to go hiking in a, you know, like we went hiking in the Campinos National Forest over there in Poland. Well, of course, before we did that, I Googled it, and I checked all the hiking forums, and of course I read all the comments, and so I knew what to expect. And I wanted to know, like, well, what spot does the bus not go, so that I don't just look at a map and innocently think I can catch a bus and get into that entrance. I want to know everything, all the good points, the bad points. And by the time I got done reading and studying, I knew all the good and bad points and what to avoid as much as possible for someone that had never done it before. And so it boggles the mind. Coming closer to home, here in Ecuador a while back, there was somebody asking about taking buses from, you get from, you land in the airport and then get a bus to get to Quito, or get a bus to come to Cuenca or whatever, from Guayaquil or Quito, whatever. And they were sincerely wanting to know. And this was on a local internet paper, let's call it, media, local. And everybody, every single comment, every single answer was, oh, don't worry, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe. 8 or 9 of them in a row. And then the very, very last comment, like the 10th one, was like, yeah, I did that and I got robbed, And this is not to demonize any particular place, to demonize Cuenca or anything. The weather is amazing here. It's the same thing in Panama. We made videos about what was really happening in Panama. Same thing, same thing, that just people, bloggers and people on social media and stuff, they seem to struggle with the idea of
telling the fact about what's really happening,
giving you the complete picture. And I've said in the times past that, you've got vested interest, which just causes an obvious log in people's eye, and they want to call it half glass full. It's a struggle for them because, well, it brings to mind when before we even moved to Ecuador 10 years ago, there were vloggers here before we got here, and even after we got here for 2-3 years, for a while, that just never ever said anything. And then after we started making videos about what it's really like, which, by the way, I've got a quote from the philosopher Plato, which said, there is no man more hated than them that tell the truth. And so our channel suffered, but we started telling it what it was really like. And the reason is not because we're negative people, but because the unashamed, unabashed, the promotion with the lack of reality was so monumental that I said to myself, somebody has got to come out here and start telling people the other side of this picture. And so these bloggers, back 10 years ago, after we started doing that, only after, not before, that they finally come out and retroactively admit that, yes, a few years ago we got robbed standing chit-chatting in front of our house just after dark. So I'm just saying that to me, it's really obvious, but to a lot of people, I don't know, they also struggle along with the thought that, how hard is it to see that someone is locking themselves up in a 24-hour security building and then telling people that they absolutely have zero concern about crime even after dark. Now, we live in a 24-hour security, but I'm very transparent about it, and I tell you why I'm in a 24-hour security building, which I've never did before, the whole 10 years we were in Ecuador.
Or anywhere else.
Or anywhere else for that matter.
Never been in a 24-hour security building ever.
And I've got 2 adult sons with me. This young man didn't do anything wrong, he didn't ask for it. He just decided one day to go hiking. He was young and naive and thought that it was okay to go hiking. That's all he wanted to do, was go hiking in the mountains, and ended up in wrong territory and ends up getting killed over it. So, I mean, it's just all over again. And, you've got just these pumpers that show up, and when one of them's getting ready to leave, the other ones show up. So it's so they have back-to-back pumpers. And these Rams, they figured out their reputation. It took them only about 10 years to figure out. Nobody believed them anymore.
Retire abroad media
and magazine. And so they've got a new strategy, but it isn't new at all. I mean, it's always been about relationships with media, with the pumpers. In times past it was relationships with all offline media like newspapers, magazines, Forbes, business magazines. Then it went to Yahoo.com articles, and now they took it a step further, and now they have agreements with bloggers to use their information, because bloggers are just better, at videography and things like that, and they may already have a little bit of a following and that kind of thing. So anybody can jump on board and become a pumper. It's really easy to do. You just make contact with the Rams, and then you simply start promoting what they want you to promote. So it's not hard. I see right through them. But my focus isn't the pumpers, because they're always going to be there. They've never disappeared. They just take a different appearance but we see right through them, and I'm sure you can too. So anyway, does that mean don't move abroad, don't live in South America, don't live in Ecuador? No, absolutely not. You just come with both eyes wide open and know what you're getting into. And in contrast, I learned years ago, because I've been selling products and services all my life, and starting with in-person sales, that I learned to spend time with the customer, tempering their unreasonable expectations. And that's what we're talking about, unreasonable expectation. And then when I started selling products online, I learned that especially online, you want to tell all of the flaws up front, because all the things they didn't tell me comes out later. But I guess that's part of the way the free video platform kind of works, is that people kind of say anything because, well, you didn't pay me, Google did, so I can get away with it. So yeah, I hope that I have inspired you today to think about being more diligent with your decision making when it comes to living your retire early lifestyle, when it comes to going abroad and even at home. Thanks for watching.